it's the program of the AAC at 2 years. And of course, we couldn't, in fact, celebrate the 1 year anniversary yesterday due to, what happened, especially regarding the fact that our national chairman was abducted by the Department of State Security. Yes, by the Department of State Security. So that was exactly what happened. And but this year, yes, it was impossible for us to. It was impossible for us to be cowed under any circumstance. Probably just like last year. So today, I would. Barrister Effiong Ginebe, welcome. Thanks a lot, comrade. So today we'll be starting with not with our keynote speaker, who, by the way, Baba Haye, and who happens to be the co-convener of Coalition for Revolution, and especially our national chairperson, who is here with us today, the person of comrade Omoyele Shuwore. And I can see him here. Welcome, sir. So let's start this discussion with Comrade Rex Elian. I don't know if you're there, comrade. So, and as you can see, the thing before us here generally is our journey so far as a revolutionary party. We started just last year. I saw in 2018, August 15. It was just like yesterday when the whole event happened. And ever since we were registered as a political party, we've been a thorn in the flesh of the gangsters who had held this nation to ransom for many years. That is for the past 20 years of our democratic engagement. It has been nothing more than ruling class dictatorship. And even the so-called independence, as we all know, we have become independent from the colonial fraudsters who looted the country. But unfortunately for us, we fell into a different form of colonialism, a worse form of slavery. Our rulers. So let me. So it's on this note, not to bore us with too many rhetorics. I'll be starting first with Comrade Rex Eliano. Comrade Rex Eliano is the state chairperson of the African Action Congress in Benue State. Comrade Rex, I hope you can hear me. So let me, before I unmute you, Comrade Rex, let me warn that we have a number of speakers, numbering to about 17. But like I made mentioned earlier, that our keynote speakers are going to be Omoyele Shuwore and Baba Haye. And with that, every other about 15 persons who are on the flyers, apologies, would have to have about at least a minimum of between 3 to 5 minutes of solidarity speech from engagement. And this is without prejudice. It's without prejudice to questions that may arise from our audience. So it's on this note, Comrade Rex, I would be unmuting you now to kick off our discussion. So, Comrade Rex, you are unmuted, please.
Okay, can I be heard now?
Yes. Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, revolutionary greetings to every comrade in the house. I'm very excited to be part of this, especially for the fact that we are marking the second year of African Action Congress. And I would say I'm privileged to be starting off. How many minutes do I have, please? maybe 5. Anyway, I can't hear a response. Maybe I should just go on.
Yes, you have 3 minutes, comrade.
Okay. I will quickly want to congratulate African Action Congress, our members, our supporters, our AAC family in Nigeria and even in diaspora. I want to congratulate us for staying strong, even with the storm from combined foes of the contemporary political parties. But the important thing that has kept us shining as a bright light and everybody is having hopes that AAC can, of course, liberate Nigeria is because of the ideology. And just like the theme of this meeting said, building a revolutionary party, the journey so far. AAC in Benue State has actually, the journey in Benue State has not been a very smooth one, but the ideology of staying true to social justice, upholding the tenets of having our leaders accountable for the resources they manage, staying true for the enforcement of human rights, all these ideologies of equity and social justice has kept the party strong, even in the face of the storms. And as much as political parties desire to have a proliferation of their structures across local government areas, council wards, it is even much more important for us that while the structures are being built physically, that the ideology is undiluted. Because once the ideology is diluted, it becomes very easy for money bags and criminals and mischief makers to infiltrate our ranks and begin to make us look like the conventional political parties that are around. And I think that's why we are still having a lot of the APC and PDP guys coming at us because they've been having sleepless nights. They are able to identify that our party is not moved by money. Our party is not catalyzed by big whips who are stealing funds and bringing the funds in. No, it's catalyzed by ideology and comrades that are committed to that ideology. So indeed, if we look back to a scene when our party was registered, we had a Congress in Benue State. We had a national convention on the 6th of most of the bigger political parties who did imagine that a party registered barely in August to be having a national convention in October. Had candidates that were even available to contest the last election. It was a big milestone for us. In 2019, we participated in the elections. We've been having public engagements with the media, with the people, fighting on behalf of the people. All these activities culminate into something different that has never been experienced in the politics. This is why we are different. So I just want to say, the point I'm trying to make is not just because they want to be part of another political party, but because it's a party that has come out of an ideology, that is sustained by an ideology, standing true. What are our tenets? Of course, people know that we are not compromised for money's sake. And what we want is to see good governance. Nigeria is a rich country, but has bad leaders who have been consistently mismanaging our collective commonwealth. And what we're all about is bringing the people to the point where they realize that the people are actually the power of the nation. And if we have to practice democracy, then the people should be in charge of choosing her leaders, of also monitoring their leaders to ensure that their leaders are managing their resources effectively, and also reward good leaders by voting them again and bad leaders by kicking them out. That's what AAC stands for, a voice for the people. And I'm very proud to be a member of African Action Congress. I'm very proud to be on the streets and everywhere preaching the gospel of a new Nigeria that can work for everybody. Thank you very much, Comrade Juwon. I hope the network has been fair to me. Hello, Comrade Juwon.
Yes, Comrade. Yes, Comrade. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for the very short and precise delivery.
Yes.
Thank you for the short and precise delivery.
Thank you very
so,
much.
And on the next, I would be calling on Comrade Kunle Wiseman Ajayi Commissioner Westman Ajayi is the Lagos State chairperson of the African Action Congress. I know he talks for length period, but we just have to ensure he sticks to the 3 to 5 minutes. So, Comrade Weissman, I will be unmuted now. I've unmuted the comment. So you have to unmute yourself. Are you there?
Hi, comrade. Are you hearing me now? Can you hear me?
Okay, comrade, you can proceed.
Yes, comrade, good afternoon. Happy 2 years anniversary to everybody. We say special greetings from Lagos. For this part of the country, we want to say, especially with the way comrade Chair of Benue State, Reverend Lanu has spoken our mind in terms of what it is in terms of the time, phase, with which we have started the party. And you know, this is one of the only parties in the country that started both as a movement and as a political party. And you know, the party now has a situation where we have moved to massive membership all over the country. In Lagos, we have thousands of members. And you know, we need to now move as possibly as possible. Let me just remove the quantity with which we have, especially being the biggest small party in Nigeria. We should move from our quantity to a quality that would help us to grow to a stage that each comrade get it, is about 1,000 members of either the PDP or the APC outside. And so it is on this note that I upgrade the quality on. Can everybody hear me, please? Hello, moderator. Can everybody hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you.
There's a need for us to move to that special quality at the moment that in all our engagement, because we are engaging basically on two barricades and two fronts, and that's on the electoral front as well as on movement basis.
Man, your voice is low. Your voice is rather too low.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes,
are you hearing me?
Yes, I think it's clear now.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, comrade, we can hear you.
Clear now? Hello, comrades.
Proceed.
Yes. So we need to move. What I was saying before is that we have the quantity now. We have the membership in terms of mass membership. We are going massively into the north. There's a need for us to move that membership into quality, the quantity of that membership into quality. We need, and one of the basic things we need at this period is, you know, we have been doing a lot of external education, and I assume that it is quite progressive education, because correctly built, because that's one of the problems we are having. We are having a situation where people are not building on the basis of our own clear political ideology. We are trying to parody the failed idea of the failed ideas of the current ruling class. They are in APC, where in building the vibrant section of the political party with which we are in now, we need, just like I said, to transform the kind of mass membership we are having from street to street, from houses to houses, into qualitative, the situation that on to at least about 1,000 members. Those are that's the basic message we have. Transform our party qualitatively. That is the basic message we are having from Lagos today. And then two, the need for us to take initiatives. Generally, we have a situation where state chairs, the leadership of the party generally, are not taking political initiatives. There's a need for us to take this political initiative. We need to be bold about them. We need to be courageous about them. There's a need for us to be as collective as possible, which is the third that I want to talk about. We are unfortunately in a lot of parts of the party not having meetings consistently. I can say that in Lagos today, every week, at least about 15 to 16 branches of the party hold consistent meetings. This has been able to help us to blossom in terms of membership. And I wish that every state go beyond, advance this kind of the initiative that is been happening in Lagos. That's the third. And finally, I want to say that there's a need for us to improve qualitatively our financial commitment to the party. I want to mention two things at this point. First is that there's a need for us in the party to activate the membership dues as soon as possible. Even if it is 50-50 naira, we need to activate it as soon as possible. Imagine that we have a 10,000 members and they pay 50 naira. You get it? It means that that's 10,000 times 50. So that in itself would help the party. And in addition to the donations that we have been depending on, in addition to the subscriptions the donations we have been depending on, in addition to the sponsorship that we've been having at the different quarters, there's a need for us to improve in all of this. So I have raised 4 basic issues from Lagos. One is for us to transform our quantity of membership into quality through massive internal education. And that is where the party school comes in. There is a need for us this year to basically work on getting the party school very active. 2, there is a need for us to make sure that we also have real collective financing through what I have raised, basically subscriptions first, that's membership dues and donation. And then we need to make sure that we take up political initiatives. All of this will help us generally. So that's the solidarity message from Lagos. Thank you, comrades.
Okay, now I think I made an error. I didn't unmute myself. So I was saying that I was going to be recognizing 2 persons from the diaspora. And yeah, now I'm trying to unmute Comrade Odion from Australia. So, Comrade Odion, I've unmuted you. I think you would have to unmute yourself now.
Okay, I've unmuted myself.
Okay, you have unmuted yourself. So, Comrade, please. Fire on.
I wish to say thank you to everyone and congratulations on this 2nd year anniversary. It's been a long, twisted up and down journey. But again, we are holding forth and I believe that we can pull. My main line of discussion today will just be purely on 2023. and looking at ways we can achieve our target and our goal. Here in Australia, we had a formidable team last year, and I know that the numbers have dwindled because of the up and down events in Nigeria, but we're going to reconvene again. We have at least 9 strong leaders in Australia, and we have members in at least 5 different states here. So it's all about, reawakening them and repositioning our members here and focusing them on tax ahead. So that's what we want to do here, is to tell the people it's time for us to wake up again and work towards our target. Like I said earlier on, I know the main issues have been the court case of convener, which has been ongoing, but we are solidly behind him, and whatever we can do to move AAC forward in this region, we're likely going to very well do. So I'd like not to speak too much, but that's what we're doing, and our works and actions will speak for us. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. So next, I recognize comrade Doris from South Africa. Comrade Doris. I unmuted you already, comrade.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Absolutely.
Greetings to everyone present at this meeting. I want to appreciate those who put this together and for being part of this meeting. I'll be very brief in my talk, and I would just like to hit the nail on the head. So far, I want to say that I am not happy with the current state of affairs in AAC. We started off very well with vibrant spirits and high spirits with so much expectations. But where we are now is what I believe that we ought to have gone beyond or past this level. So the most important thing here, I believe, is that there is need for us to tackle the internal issues because it's greatly impacting on our general achievement so far. The internal issues that are bordering on AAC, which is basically factions and divisions, and also inconsistency, especially at the level of leadership, has greatly affected the membership of the party. Even though people have different opinions, but the ultimate is that the original vision, the real essence why we are all gathered, is being overlooked. So I'm very concerned about this factor because without tackling this internal crisis, we are going to struggle to make any meaningful achievements in the near future. So I want to urge the party leaders, particularly our convener, to stand up and play a fatherly role by bringing together our current and past leaders, especially those who have played significant roles in this party. It is important that a house who does not stay together will definitely collapse. In a game of politics and nation building, number is of essence. It is important that we work collectively to ensure that our efforts is going to yield very productive results. Starting from the grassroots politics, engaging at the level of the local governments up to the state level and the federal level, it is important that everyone participates effectively. So if we do not start the process of bringing in people who have left for one reason or the other, which I believe also borders on leadership issues, because I have seen here now that most of the leaders are not here. What has happened to them? Where are the leaders who started this together? So it's important that we go to the bottom of this problem and then come together so that we can be able to make something meaningful out of all our efforts, so that at the end of the day, history will have record that we are able to achieve success. I also want to encourage those who are fighting, who are at the forefront, the foot soldiers, the support from the diaspora. We are doing well, but there is need for more collective efforts. I was expecting to see Dr. Josh here, Beju, and the likes of others. I'm surprised they are not here because this is a very significant milestone in the journey of this party. So if we are heading towards 2023, it's important that all hands must be on deck. We need to be sure of what we are doing and be very, very, positive about achieving the very essence of our existence. Thank you.
All right, thank you, commentaries from South Africa. So I'll be coming back to some of our leaders here in Nigeria too. Okay, so I'll be on meeting from Kano, Osman Jush. I'm trying to find him now. Okay. Comrade Osman, you are muted.
Good evening, everyone.
Comrade, you may need to speak louder. Okay, I think something is definitely wrong with Osman's network. And
I would like. Are you hearing me?
Okay. Yes, comrade, we can hear you. Talk louder, please, comrade. Maybe you should move closer to your device. Comrade Osman. Please move closer to your device. Okay, I think Comrade Osman is having problem with his device. Okay, maybe I should just why let me recognize someone else while I try to fix this device problem. So I would go directly to Comrade Edits. It's so bad. Comrade Edits is so bad. I don't know if you're here. So I'll be unmuting you now. Please try unmute yourself. And I do hope that the moment you're done, the Kano State Chair would have sorted its network. Covered it. Okay, I think I can't even find that again. Okay, let me recognize someone else too. Let me recognize someone else. So from the okay, post comments man, you saying already, so maybe you should post it.
Hey,
Okay,
are you listening to me now?
please put it up.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, all. I'm very delighted to be part of this meeting, and I will have no much to say but thank all the members for their support and their prayers during my stay with the oppressors. My own to talk today is just I would like to advise the national body of this party to do all that they can to move this party up. Because, hello?
Come on, proceed.
Hello? Are you hearing me?
Absolutely, come on.
Okay. This party started to grow beyond our expectations, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. The recent incident that started on 5th of August gave birth to the increase of interest for people, both workers, non-workers, the oppressed, and some even portion of oppressors to move into this party. Therefore, I would like to urge this party to start creating ways how you can bring in laymen, those that can help, because revolution is all about putting hands together to fight so that we can achieve our end. We don't have to restrict our movement within ourselves or media. We have to open this thing to the wider world so that the people that are not having access to media will come to see what is happening here. Therefore, here in the north, we have created an avenue whereby we are going to start registering member based on paper. We are going to take the north, giving them cards to obtain
Man, your network seems very bad.
so that you fight this uh, uh, when you fight this problem, we'll be able to stay and fight. But if you have internal problem, we cannot fight somebody outside because we have problem within ourselves. Also, the other states around the northwest part of Nigeria, we have started to move into Jigawa, Zamfara, and Sokoto to see that people are coming off because we have the state structure there. If not these coronavirus issues, we have come up with all local government chairman and the state chairman. Therefore, and finally, I would like to encourage this party to try as much as possible to contest during these primary local government elections around the nation. I hope that this party, by 2023, inshallah, we are going to step down the oppressors. Thank you, comrade. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, comrade. Thank you, comrade Usman. Thank you, comrade Usman. So, and I can see here Barrister Effiong Inibe. Barrister Effiong Inibe, as we know, is the National Legal Advisor of the African Action Congress. So I'm sure you would also have a lot to say. So I will be unmuting him now to immediately address the House. I'll be unmuting him now to address the House. So Barrister Effiong, I have unmuted you.
Hello?
Yes, comrade, I can hear you.
Okay. Basically, there are some legal issues or legal controversies within the party. As you are aware, sometime last year, we got wind that Leonard had gone to court to file some cases against not the party itself, but Mr. Showore and Dr. Malcolm. When I got wind of that, I immediately and swiftly reacted by joining issues with him in court. Now, there are two cases. The first case, which is the one we were aware of, the one we got wind of, was the one that was filed at the Federal High Court before Justice Nyaeko. The second case, which we were not aware of while it was pending, was filed surreptitiously at the FCT High Court. That is the Federal Capital Territory High Court. Now, for the case at the Federal High Court, the judge, rightly or wrongly, had granted what we lawyers call an ex parte order, otherwise known as an interim order, which by law should only last for 7 days. But in the case of the Federal High Court, that are the old rules before the new rules was introduced, I think it was 14 days. Yes. When that period has elapsed, the order is no longer effective, it is no longer enforceable. And such orders are usually granted in cases of extreme urgency. An applicant that is seeking the grant, the relief, or an order of interim injunction or ex parte injunction must demonstrate and show extreme urgency, or what you can call special circumstances, to justify why such an order should be granted. I'm trying to lay a background. Now, what did I do? Immediately, we got wind of the case, even though neither Showore nor Dr. Malcolm were served personally, but the court had on its own made an order for substituted service by publication in the national newspaper. Incidentally, at the time the case was filed, both Showore and Malcolm were out of the country, so they could not personally participate in the court process, even though I would have preferred that, but that wasn't possible because, like I said, they had left the country. Specifically for Showore, for example, he left the country barely 48 hours before Leonard filed a frivolous case in court. So I filed a motion asking the court to set aside the interim order, because as far as I was concerned, until today, my position has not changed. there was no basis in law to grant an interim order. The facts in support of the application, the amendment that he made, the document that he exhibited, everything that Leonard brought to court were a product of fraud and forgery. So I didn't hesitate to ask the court to vacate the order, but something very interesting happened in the court. When the judge and Leonard were confronted by the motion that I filed for that interim order to be vacated, rather than entertaining our application, the judge insisted that we should proceed to the substantive suit. That why am I bothered about the interim order? Why can't I focus on the substantive suit? Of course, I was not carried away by that. I insisted that I had a motion to move and that it should be taken. And for, I don't know whether any of our colleagues who were in court is part of this meeting, they would have seen how I basically had what you can describe as an open disagreement with the judge, to the point that the judge had to fling the file and ask the registrar to call another case, because I insisted that I was not going to take a date that Leonard's lawyer had proposed, which would have had the effect of allowing him to organize a kangaroo convention before the case was determined. So I refused to agree to the date that he suggested, since the court was not willing to, allow us to proceed on that day. That matter lasted for a while. We had to go outside and discuss between me and Leonard's lawyer. We now reached a consensus. So Leonard's lawyer had to make an undertaking to the court that no convention or anything in that name was going to hold while that case was pending. So that gave me some relief that, okay, since his plan was to do a convention and the lawyer had committed in court that would not happen, let us proceed to the substantive matter. But when we came back the second time, I still insisted on moving the motion to vacate the order that was made, because based on that order, Leonard had committed some atrocities against the party. And again, the judge insisted that no, that even though he was going to proceed on vacation, he was going to sit, he was willing to sit to deliver judgment by mutual consent. So it became clear to me that there was no way the motion to vacate the interim order was going to be granted. For any serious lawyer that is involved in litigation, you must read the body language of the court. You must also know when to draw the line. No matter how personally aggrieved you are with the decision or the disposition of the judge, you still owe a professional obligation, a professional duty to the court. So you should not be seen to be fighting with the judge in open court. That will only result in a disciplinary action or you losing the case eventually. But I still stood my ground anyways. But the point is this. We eventually came back. Of course, the order had elapsed. We came back for the hearing of the matter. And
Socialist.
When we now came, I had filed a strong counter affidavit opposing the fraudulent documents, the fraudulent amendment that Leonard had made. If you read through the counter affidavit that I filed, the documents that I exhibited, I believe every fair-minded person will be convinced that I did all that was required of me. Look, Dr. Joshua was the deponent since Showore and Malcolm were not present. Now, what did Justice Eko decide? And this is important for some of our comrades who do not have a background knowledge of the case in the party. who say the national legal advisor or Inibera is the problem. Let me explain what the judge did. Now, after we had challenged all the claims that Leon had made, that Sowore took money belonging to the party, misappropriated campaign funds, that the so-called NEC had met, had suspended Sowore, and so on. After we had disproved all those claims, after we had exposed the fraud in all the documents that we brought, paragraph by paragraph, page by page, line by line, what I did was basically a forensic analysis of all the documents that he brought. I showed to the courts by the constitution of the party, people that are statutory members of NEC, people that are elective members of NEC, and I made it very clear. Apart from the repetition of names, the forgery, the appearance of strange names, and the fact that even the entire thing was a fraud, all that was exposed clearly. The only way that that case could have been decided against us was for our defense not to be examined at all. So the judge, in his wisdom, now ruled that what Leonard filed was uncontested, and that our defense or our own case, or what I filed on behalf of Sowore and Malcolm, cannot even be looked at or examined. In his view, because Sowore and Malcolm were not the people who deposed to the affidavit, and as since they were sued personally, a third party couldn't have deposed to an affidavit on their behalf, that it needed to be somebody who was directly sued. Meanwhile, this reason that the judge gave for throwing out our defense and giving judgment in favor of Leonard was not canvassed in court by any of the parties, was not raised in court by the judge. Normally, what the law requires is that we call it suo motu. If a court is to raise an issue that none of the parties have litigated, have canvassed in open court, that judge is required mandatorily, there is no discretion, it's mandatory to invite parties to address him before he can reach a decision on that issue. And if you read through the brief of argument that I have filed at the Court of Appeal, we have clearly shown that this issue that the judge raised was never canvassed in court. The fact that Sowore did not personally depose to his affidavit, that Malcolm was not also the deponent to the affidavit, this issue was not raised at any time by Leonard. This issue was not raised at any time by the judge throughout the period that this case lasted in court. So how that became the basis of determining the case, that is the singular reason that the judge gave for reaching that decision, no other reason. He now said on the basis of that, that since what we filed was inadmissible, it is even strange to talk about admissibility of an affidavit. You cannot talk about admissibility of affidavit. You can only talk about admissibility of document attached to an affidavit. But the judge said that the entire affidavit was inadmissible. I've never heard such before. Meanwhile, before, as if I knew, as if I had predicted this, I believe Sowore is listening to me, he will confirm that I had made spirited efforts to convince Sowore to come to Nigeria to swear to that affidavit. It was as if I knew this was going to happen, but of course that wasn't possible. I had also tried to persuade Dr. Malcolm whether there was any way he could come, but I knew that it is basically almost impossible for someone to just fly back to Nigeria, just to swear to an affidavit. It wasn't possible. But I also knew that there is no legal requirement. There is no requirement under the law that says a party must personally depose to his affidavit. So what did I do to preempt this? It's as if I knew this was going to happen. I now insisted that Sowore must give me his travel documents. If I believe he's listening to me, we'll confirm it. I attached the international passport of Sowore, and I even took time to explain in the counter affidavit why both of them were not available to swear to the affidavit. and the fact that they had given Dr. Joshua the authority to do so on their behalf. This is not required. It's not a requirement of law that if you are swearing to an affidavit on behalf of somebody, you must explain that why the person cannot swear personally. I just did that, what we lawyers call ex abundante cautelar, out of abundance of caution. I was not required to do that. But I went to that extent to show that we were willing and serious to defend the case. But of course, like I said, the judge decided what he decided. And now, gave judgment in favor of Leonard. I have my personal grievance with the judgment. I may not be able to say certain things because I know this is a public forum. I don't know who is listening, but I have my personal misgivings about that judgment, which is why if you read through the notice of appeal that I filed at the Court of Appeal in Abuja, the grounds of appeal are stated. In fact, the first ground that I have raised is jurisdiction. The fact that the court had no jurisdiction to even look at the case, to entertain the case, or to determine the issues that were presented by Leonard. Because these are issues that has to do with leadership of political parties, which is not within the purview of the court. It is an intra-party dispute, or what we lawyers call forum domesticum. It's an internal affair of the party. So I canvass issue of jurisdiction. I also challenge the facts, raise issues of fair hearing, that this argument about Sowore not swearing to his affidavit was raised by the judge on his own. That alone is enough to obtain the entire judgment. I also went to the merit of the issue that even if there was a requirement that even if that issue was raised in the court, which was not raised, the decision reached by the judge was wrong because there is no requirement of the law. And I also even cited cases decided by the courts as recent as 2019 and even Supreme Court decisions, where the courts have said that there is no law anywhere that requires somebody that is being sued in the case to swear to an affidavit.
Sorry for interjecting a little bit. We still have a number of speakers that are really supposed to intervene in the matter. So
why this is important, Joel, between me and you are aware you've spoken with me about the issues in the party. I believe if I don't take time to explain the intricacies of the case, people may not understand why I don't like talking about it publicly most times. But let me summarize. Now, the point is this. I have an appeal, which I have filed at the Court of Appeal on several grounds. There are several grounds of the appeal. We serve Leonard, we serve INEC. The case came up twice at the Court of Appeal because they thought it was a pre-election matter. That was why they gave a hearing date initially. So when we now went the last time and they asked us, was it a pre-election matter? Of course, we said no because the file was before them. It was not a pre-election matter. It was not an issue that related to the conduct of an election. So the panel now advised that we should file our briefs, what we call brief of argument. When we file our briefs, we should now apply for a date. Of course, I filed my brief. I served Leonard, I served INEC. Both of them acknowledged it. I met Leonard's lawyer at Ghana for me the last lecture. He told me he was not interested in the case, that the case had become academic, which was ridiculous to me because in his view, they had done a convention. Why am I still talking about case? I feel that is an argument for the court. I'll be waiting for him to say that in court. The lawyer to INEC also called me to confirm the receipt of what we filed. But I am convinced that the reason why they can never reply us is that, as far as I'm concerned, there is no reply to the argument that we have made. In law, there's no way they can reply to what we have filed. So we have tried to get a date at the Court of Appeal. I have personally written applications. Sowore is aware of this. Even as that yesterday, my people in Abuja still went back to the court and they told us that because they are on vacation, we have to wait, but that the file is currently before the PCA, the president of the Court of Appeal, to work on dates. So I've been following on these cases every single week. Now we have also filed some some motions before the Court of Appeal regarding the appeal. So the position as of today is that Now, there is a judgment that Leonard obtained. INEC is claiming that they are working with Leonard on the basis of that judgment. But recall that the judgment said Sowore was suspended in court for 6 months, which has since elapsed. So why is INEC still working on that judgment? I don't want to comment on that. I've discussed that personally with Sowore. These are strategic issues. I don't want to delve into that. Now, we are hoping to have a date for the hearing of the appeal to have this matter resolved once and for all at the Court of Appeal. I believe we will get justice at the end of the day. I'm aware the delay has affected the fortunes of the party in some states. And this was expected because I have made it clear to members that this was going to happen. As long as there are corrupt elements in INEC, and I've told you that the problem is not even the court, the problem is INEC. As long as there are corrupt elements in INEC that have collected money to do what they are doing, we will continue to wait for the court to decide the matter. So basically, that is where we are regarding the legal cases in the party. Lastly, Leonard had also gone secretly to bring a non-existent person called Aboko Bako. They filed a name under a fictitious name because we've done our checks. We haven't found somebody that beat Aboko Bako in ANC in Abuja, who claimed to have sued Leonard. He pretended to be suing Leonard. But when you read through what they filed, you will see that what Leonard said at the Federal High Court is exactly what he went to do at the FCT High Court. So that one we were not even aware. We only became aware because of the Rivers State petition, where they went and got an order from the FCT High Court. And our candidate in Rivers now hinted us. I had to do search. That was how we became aware. So I've also filed certain applications at the Court of Appeal with the aim of setting aside that order too. So basically the legal processes are ongoing, but it is not as fast as I would have wanted it to be. That is where we are as of today.
All right. Thank you.
If there are any questions or somebody needs any clarifications on areas, there are areas I've not touched, I'll be very willing to respond to them.
All right. So, Comrade, thanks a lot for, even though you spoke way beyond the maximum 5 minutes. So what I guess you made a couple of points that probably a number of our members want to listen to. So next, yes, I would be unmuting Dr. Chidi. Yes, Dr. Chidi from Canada. I'll be unmuting Dr. Chidi from Canada. So and I hope, comrade, please, I want to appeal. Please let's stay within the scope of time. Let's stay within the scope of time. And within the 3 to 5 minutes, Dr. Chidi will be making his point. I will be asking Comrade Umar, the chairperson for Bauchi State, to get prepared to make his solidarity speech. Remember, we still have 2 keynote speakers who really want to take up this discussion. So Comrade, you are muted. Come, we can't hear you. Oh, I dare do 2 Chidis there. I can't see the other one. Dr. Chidi, I can't find the other one you're talking about, but I already unmuted the one I know and the one I can see. Yes, maybe you would. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. I hope everyone can hear me now.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I really want to appreciate you, Comrade Juwan, for organizing this meeting Take it back. Action. I know all of you.
Action.
Take it back.
Action.
Take it back.
Action.
Action. No going back.
No going back. Yeah.
Yes, so I was beginning to wonder what we are doing here. Have we forgotten what we are? We are action people. And this whole thing, in my view, it's all about going back to when there was nothing like African Action Congress. Before, what was the atmosphere like? Everywhere there was confusion, people were intimidated, there was timidity. All you had was the big wigs, the two main thieving parties, the APC and the PDP. And then one young man in New York City had a dream that, look, I've had enough. It is time for a change. In the person of Omoyele Sowore, and with a few guys, he started the Take It Back movement out of absolutely nothing. And they started going around the whole place. They flew around the whole world. And they came to Toronto, Canada. And I saw what they were doing, and I was fascinated, and I jumped into that train. And that train, before you knew what was happening, that train was already on its way and nobody could stop it. And we went around the whole world. They went to Australia, they went to Germany, they went to France, they went to so many places. And then finally, they came back to Nigeria. And when we came to Nigeria, everybody was like, okay, you know what, let's look for a political party to join. And we started scouting. But meanwhile, we were sensitizing the whole place. Youths were galvanized. They had never seen something like that. All of a sudden, who are these people? We turned the whole place upside down. That was the first time. It's giving me goose pimples. That was the first time in Nigeria they were seeing the brand of politics that was brought into the scene. That we were the first people to organize the first town hall meeting. Then we started going from place to place, out of nothing. Ordinary people. It was students. It was market people. No big wigs, no money bags. We tried to join political parties. We found out that all the political parties were rotten. Some of them even came on the trail with us. Remember a woman that used to cover her face? We didn't know why she was covering her face. It was because she had an agenda. They promised us they were going to give us a ticket in their party. At the end of the day, we found out that they were rotten, and we made a very, very bold move. We decided to form our own political party. They told us, I just feel emotional now. They told us, you can't do it. Nobody ever does it. For you to have a political party, you have to have a sponsor. You have to have a money bag. You have to have a treasure chest. We didn't have that. What we had was you, and everybody on this platform. It was market women donating 100 naira, 200 naira, students donating their pocket money. From our GoFundMe, we registered the African Action Congress. I will never forget that day in Abuja. I couldn't believe it. All of a sudden, we had our own political party. When before we were begging to be, please, can we just pitch? Can you guys accommodate Omoyele Sowore as a presidential candidate, please? From begging to be allowed to be part of a party. Now we had a party, and we could field candidates in the 36 states of Nigeria. We could field governorship candidates. We could field senators. We could field House of Reps people. We had done what people could not do, because ours was the real party, not all those parties that existed on paper. And then we started. We swept Nigeria like a tsunami. We were on radio. Omoyele Sowore was, you know him, he was broadcasting live. We were the people that did it. I never want you to forget this thing. That's the essence of this anniversary converging. The fact that after 2 years, we registered how many political parties were registered in Nigeria? How many of them are still giving headache to the government of Nigeria? What does that tell you? That tells you that you need to be proud of yourself. Things are not perfect, We did not plan for a political party. We are not politicians. That's why when I look at the things that are happening to our party, you see, it makes me know that we need to understand we are not politicians. We are revolutionaries. We are activists. We came in to change the status quo. We came in to turn the whole place upside down. So if you look around and you're still turning the whole place upside down, if you look around and they are still locking you up, if you look around and you are still the ones that are calling for a revolution, Omoyele Sowore is in Nigeria where they want to kill him. He knows his life is at stake, and yet, through Sahara Reporters, he has not stopped. Through Revolution Now movement, we are still attacking the government. So what does that tell you? That tells you that we ought to be proud of what we did. You ought to beat your chest and say, oh my goodness, I am glad that even if this doesn't happen in my own generation, even if this doesn't happen in my time, we have planted a seed that will grow forever and ever. I am an Igbo man. My base is from the East. That's why I ran for governorship candidate in the East. I am a Biafran. I am in full support of the Biafran agitation, but I also care for every part of Nigeria. I also care for my brothers and sisters that are living in every inch of that geographical failed state called Nigeria. And I will continue to attack that government. I will continue to invest my resources in anything that will pull down that government until we see that there's a total liberation of everybody in that country, until we see that justice is established in that country. That is what African Action Congress was established. That is what will keep us moving. I don't care about people like Leonard. I don't care about people who are distracting us. I don't care about the judges. I don't care about the politicians. They can do whatever they like, but one day, power will come back to the people. AAC, take it back, action.
Action. No
Thank you very much.
So, and so thank you, Dr. Chidi, for making that sharp intervention. You know, the Take It Back movement, the AAC started first from the Take It Back movement as a movement, you know, that intends to sweep and end the regime of, you know, impunity, the regime that had placed the conscious majority in abject poverty and despair. And we still continue in that line. And like Comrade Usman rightly mentioned, the revolutionary movement of August 5 that swept not just throughout the country, but throughout the world, you know, projected once again as the African Action Congress as a major opposition party in the country today, and not just an ordinary opposition party, you know, but a party that is prepared to chase out these vagabonds through the roads of revolution. So we've been mobilizing young people from everywhere. In fact, the engine of this movement till date remains our armies of young and intellectually vibrant people. So, comrades, I know there are still a number of persons who have a lot to say, but I don't know if she's here, but I can see Take It Back UK, so I'm not sure if she's the one using it. Eunice Dabo. Are you there, comrade? I think that's Eunice Dabo. So I will be unmuting her, then we'll move straight up to our key speakers for today. So comrade Eunice, you are unmuted now. Eunice. Oh, there. Well, I don't think she's here. Okay. So
hello?
in the absence. Oh,
hello?
All right. Yes, you're on.
Oh, okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Eunice Dabo from Take It Back UK. What I've just got to say is very simple, and I'll just keep it this way. We as a political party and as a movement, we've gone very far from where we started. I just want to encourage everyone to keep pressing, keep working, and ignore every form of distraction, i.e. Biafra and Oduduwa. The team in the UK will continue to do what we need to do to keep the pressure on and to do whatever we need to do to support the team in Nigeria. For me, I mentioned those two groups as major distraction at this moment because we need to get our priorities right. So without wasting too much of your time, let's keep pressing. Let's keep the flag going. No one should just be discouraged because there are so many things, the legal matter, the everything that is there to distract and to just get people distracted naturally. I would just say to the legal team to do whatever they can do to put an end to this legal battle, because as soon as we're able to resolve this matter, then we're able to move forward. Leonard and his team, they are doing a very terrible damage to the effort of everyone. The good work that Omoyele Shure is doing, but we're not going to give up and we're not going to give in. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, comrade. So not to waste any more time, I'm sure there are still others on the queue who will still give us one or two solidarity speech before the ending of this meeting. And like I said, Comrade Omar from Bauchi should begin to prepare. It will be called on soon. But for now, I would like to bring up one of the co-convener of the Coalition for Revolution, who has also been a major ideological contributor, bulwark to the party himself. So that's going to be, so I'm going to be bringing up Baba Ayeb from okay, I thought I saw him now. Okay, yes, I can see him now. So comrade, you have the floor.
Good day, comrades. I salute you all on this historic occasion. Before going further, I want to thank Dr. Chidi, because he said a number of things that were on my mind, and he brought back the discussion to that. Because the first thing I wanted to ask is this. You see, there were 23 parties registered on the 15th of August 2018. It is not accidental that it is AAC alone that is marking this day. And the reason is because AAC represents an historic break, an historic development in the politics of Nigeria in several ways, and I'll come to it. To look at what is happening, we should situate it within our national history and the current global situation. If you look at the world change in 2008, after you had the Lehman Brothers crash, all over the world you had revolts. People voted out a number of people that had been thought could not easily be voted out. Within months, about 14 governments democratically fell in Europe, and then you had demonstrations, you had revolts. Within this, you even had revolutions. You had the Arab Spring, in Portugal, in Spain, you had the Los Indignados, you had the Squares movement in Greece, and so on and so forth. You had the Occupy Wall Street movement. In Nigeria, the Occupy Nigeria movement was, you could say, part of that global dynamic. But there was a problem. And that problem was that in Nigeria, change-seeking elements could not move from that mass spontaneous movement into organization. So it becomes like steam that is just from a kettle. But you need organization to turn that steam into motion, like a steam engine. And that is what the TIB AAC now came to be in presenting a party of a new type. The closest I would say we have heard of something similar would be like NEPU in Nigeria, but NEPU's focus was more, on the north in general, and then the Kano and its environs. But that was where you had a party of a new type at an earlier point in our history. So I want to commend all of us, that have been part of this in several ways in making history. I would want to talk more on suggestions, rubbing minds on what is to be done to move further forward, because a lot has been done, and I'm happy that there has been a lot of soul searching in this discussion. But even in the best situation, the largest room in the world is the room for improvement. So like one of the songs we were taught in primary school those days, good, better, best. May I never rest till my good is better, my better, best. There are a number of things we can do better to get the goal of revolutionary triumph, to get the goal of popular power to change our society for the better. 2023, before or after, as Chidi also pointed out, and all these things are interconnected. So, looking at this just quite quickly, because this also relates to some of the questions of unity and other, and I agree totally on the need for unity. But when you also talk of these, I posted a quote earlier today of that. What is true is tested in fire, and what is false, what is genuine is tested in fire, and what is false will not be missed in our ranks. It is not the first time you're having things like this in Nigerian politics. I mentioned NEPU earlier, and part of it also, for those that follow the politics of the Second Republic, you had a similar thing where you then had Michael Imudu on one hand, Aminu Kanu on the other, and so on and so forth. So the legal battle is important, make no doubt about it, but for the kind of party that AAC is, our strength lies in the ties with the masses, with professional middle class people, with the people in general. Because what it has done, it has inspired hope in so many people that had lost faith about any possibility of a better Nigeria or anything like that. And it did not just happen, because you see some people say, well, this came out of hard work. Between March 2018 and the elections last year, over 500 events were held across, almost all the country, or almost all the states in Nigeria, and several countries across all the regions of the world. It was this hope that saw people making contributions of upwards of 157 million naira. In Nigeria, when people come to party, they come to take, not to give. But this showed how inspiring that movement, has been. And even the way the diaspora came in, not even in terms of the finance, which is itself is not unimportant, but even in terms of taking action during the elections, during the struggle, for free Showore and all that, it showed the kind of power that together we can have, and that has been demonstrated. That is what the status quo, the people benefiting from the chop and clean out system of today fear. That is what they fear. And now, the revolutionary movement marked also a major milestone in this, in the development of this party over the last 2 years. It's difficult to at times look at it that it's just 2 years. Earlier today, then there were some distractions. I was working on, and which before the day is over, I would make and put up. But there are about 9 or 10 other articles written, some of them last year, some more recently, that speak to the history, that speak to the dynamics of it. Because Chinua Achebe said something, well, I think it's generally an African proverb, but Chinua Achebe pointed it out, I think it was in either Antilles of the Savannah or, the problem of Nigeria leadership. And he said that, until the lions learn to tell their tales, the tales will be those of the hunter. And Winston Churchill said something similar when he was saying that, look, history will be linear to me because I'm going to write it. We must tell our stories, both to document this for posterity and to inspire further action for today. So these are things that need to be done. As I said earlier, I want to focus more on what is to be done. How can we build on the great dynamics that has been established in moving forward? There's a saying that every politics is local. You might say it is not totally true, but there's some fire to that smoke. What do I mean by this? I think it was Kunle that was talking about the need to take initiative. Then I want to know we can make this even more concrete. There are some little things that we can learn. You see, there is no map into the future, but we have the compass of history. How have revolutionary, radical democratic movements been built over time in our country and globally? And when we're talking about our country, I've had a lot of people, especially those that like us used to say are revolutionary, a number of them genuinely so. I want to say, and I say this without the slightest sense of immodesty, I have not only been part of, I've played leading roles in virtually all revolutionary comings together in the country, to struggle since the late 80s. Campaign for Democracy, I served on its highest organ with Beko. I was a founding member of United Action for Democracy. I later served as his national convener. I initiated the All Nigerian Socialist Alliance. And in talking of partisan politics, I've been in virtually all this. And the reason is because how do we find the embers of resistance? I was a founding member of Democratic Alternative, which Shotu was at a point in time. I served as his youth welfare and culture secretary for Lagos. The National Conscience Party, we were part of the founding body of it. I served as his director for mobilization and international coordination. I served in the Labour Party for a decade and a half as his deputy national secretary. So I don't see the Sankara stories some people will be telling us and trying to describe Albino as Oyinbo for us about how the party has moved, the dynamics of the party. The fact of the matter is this: never before, and I can concretely say this, never before since the 1980s have revolutionary forces been able to amass the kinds of numbers. It might seem small, that a few thousands. When we talk of Campaign for Democracy, it was not, when we started, how many were, sometimes will not be more than a dozen, 2 dozen, or on the streets trying, or in one corner. It was the thunder of June 12 bomb that helped the bomb and move everything. But because there's elements of both spontaneity and elements of organization within revolution. But the fact of the matter is this: spontaneity, the extent to which you can go along with it, depends on even the level of organization on ground. You understand? That is part of why, despite the fact that pro-democrats fought against the military, when the military will eventually leave, it is the same chop and clean out people that got Nigeria to where it was before military came, that took over with even greater vehemence. We had a similar thing in 2012. Some people will say labor. Yeah, I've been a trade unionist for well over 2 decades at all levels of the trade union movement. And I recognize and appreciate, and I've played role in building the powers of the trade union movement. But the trade union movement is not and cannot be a revolutionary body. It is a body that has to carry out collective bargaining and all that. How will employers engage in collective bargaining if it is a political partisan body on its own, so to speak? So if you had the kind of organization that AAC is building and that has been expanded with, like the Coalition for Revolution, after the military were forced out in 1999, or in 2012 when you had your uprising, this is not what we'll be saying. This country wouldn't then have been the same, because we would have been able to consummate the revolutionary pressures. So now the situations we are in, because when we're even talking of electoral politics, for the kind of party that the AAC, which is a party of a new type, a party of a difference, a party which is genuinely heart and soul rooted in the concerns of the masses, we have to establish ties on daily basis in systemic manners with the masses in our different localities. And then I come back to the issue of that every politics is local. And now, what are some of the things we can learn from past experiences, not only Nigeria, but globally? In our different states, there's the need for us, it could be a national program on which we have to do at a different, some are not even so difficult. Something as simple as we say, maybe not monthly as they used to do, it could be quarterly. We do AAC National Environmental Cleanup Day. We go to the communities, clean them up. And as we are cleaning up, people see that you are cleaning up, you are giving leaflets, you are discussing the ideas of the party with them. Some things we look at, like the Black Panthers in the US. What did they do? They had breakfast schools for for people that couldn't afford. Even in Europe, things like that, some people do soup kitchens and all that. It might not be something we do every time, but once in a while we do this. We use this to both at the same time do something for the masses concretely that they can see, and also reach out to them with our ideas and with the practice of these ideas, So we need to look at this, even talking also of in schools, and catching them young is important. Now, catching them young comes in different ways. We have graduates, university people in AAC that in different locations can carry out tutorials for pupils of our secondary school, especially in situations like where we are now, of the COVID and all that. I'll be trying.
So, Baba, you still have your time, but I just want to make an important announcement. You still have your time.
Okay.
So, Omole intends to attend to something very urgent. So I would like to bring him up. Then he makes his few speech. Then I'll bring you back on.
Problem. You are part of the problem. All right.
Hello, comrade. Yes, thank you. So I'll be unmuting Omoyele Shure now. Okay. Okay, come on, you're unmuted, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity and the privilege to be with you today. I do not intend to say too many things or so much, because a lot of you have spoken my mind, and I mean at all levels. When I say all levels, people who you might have considered to have had a divergent opinion spoke for me. People who gave inspiration spoke for me. We feel like we are even too slow speaking for me. What I want to say here today is that as I pick on Canada is really, I think this is why Chidi is unique. Is a pastor, so he has a way of lifting you even when you're down. Spoke about why today is essential. Today is not for me a day to blame ourselves. It's not a day to think of things that we disagree upon. It's a day to appreciate what we have done in 2 years. And last year, you guys couldn't do it because everybody was saying free Shore, and as a result, had no time to even celebrate the most important thing that ever happened on the continent, possibly in Africa. Why did I say it's important? There are only 3 parties on the continent of Africa today that are advancing something different, unique, innovative, and ahead of. We had a young man. We have a young man in South Africa. We have another young guy in Uganda. His name is Bobby Wine. The guy is Malema. And in Nigeria, we have AAC. Don't mention my name. And we are the 3 major parties on the continent today that are advancing a different narrative about how Africa could walk out of the 3 Ds: death, destruction, and deception. That's how I call it. Some people might give you a different narrative. And here we are. a party that's less than, that's about 2 years old, doing what is unbelievable, unthinkable, and acceptable to a lot of people. Have we not had problems? Of course, we've had massive problems, but do you know where our problems are coming from? Absolutely, it's because we dare the system. That's where our problems are coming from. And for those of you who might be a little bit in a different position from me, I want to direct you to the press release that was issued on August 4th by Leonard, who some people feel like we should negotiate with. They issued a statement which was completely meant to stop us from challenging the government on August 5. They claim that the Revolution Now movement is alien to what Nigerians need. They requested that everybody who is a part of the Revolution Now movement should be arrested by the DSS and locked up indefinitely. They issued a statement. But we went out, we ignored them, went out and had an amazing Revolution Now party, EAC party action that shocked even the incompetence and invalids in Aso Rock. What am I trying to tell you? When we are asking for reconciliation, we must only reconcile with conscience. When we're asking for progress, we must only progress with progressiveness. When we are asking for action, it must be consistent with the needs of the people of Nigeria. When we are asking for openness, transparency, it must be consistent with global standards. And nobody, in all honesty, has ever challenged us on these terms. Importantly, I must thank the foot soldiers on the ground in Nigeria who are risking their lives. Let me confess today, after the elections in 2019, I took a personal decision, and I say personal because of those who may not understand it very well, that after participating in that election, we cannot go into another election without a showdown. None. If we want to help Nigeria, we can only help Nigeria with a revolutionary intervention in the situation of Nigeria. Nigeria and Nigerians are helpless. I mean, the Nigerian nation and the people are in a parlous state. The ruling elite has smashed Nigerians down. They're stepping on their head and enjoying it. They are pumping champagne on how indolent, how complacent and complicit Nigerian people are. We are the only people, few of us, 69 of us at this point on this page, possibly, who can challenge power and have been able to demonstrate to power that we cannot be subdued and we cannot be told that we don't exist. Do we have party differences? We have internal differences? Absolutely, we do. There are some of our party members that I personally invited to this event today. I would say openly, so they cannot come because they feel like the party, they don't agree with where we are heading in terms of direction. I agree with them. There are people who also have consistently fought to make sure that our party is seen differently. They put their lives on the line. They risk everything they have. We have to appreciate them. Do we have to reconcile with people who don't understand where we are or who feel like we should moderate things? Possibly. But what is today's theme of conversation? Building a revolutionary party. That's the only reason why I'm standing or sitting in front of you. I want a revolutionary party. What is a revolutionary party? A party that is not part of the past, is not enjoying from the present, and wants to chart a different path for the future. That is what I'm here to do, ladies and gentlemen. And that is what I've committed myself to. Is the reason why I didn't have a problem spending 5 months in jail last year I didn't spend 5 months in jail so that I can go and reconcile with some people that you may have sympathy for. And I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I cannot reconcile. I have irreconcilable differences as people disagree and get out of marriages they don't like with some people that we started the party. And we should blame ourselves that we didn't do enough background check to have included some individuals in our party. We should claim not credit, but shame for that. Because we don't belong, we don't stand for what they stand for. But I will say one final thing because I have a show in 5 minutes. One thing is that if there's any party, any movement that the Nigerian state, the elites, and the powerful individuals in government today are afraid of, it's the party known as AAC, not the watered down version, not the fake version, but the real version. The Revolution Now movement, the Take It Back movement, and all of you that are standing here today fighting for what is just, fair, and egalitarian. I want to address one last thing for a comrade who said we shouldn't be distracted by IPOB, or all of them are part of us. Anybody that wants justice, that can speak for it, that can stand for it, is part of our movement. We have disagreements with them, and the comrade who spoke, that's Dabo, knew what I've done to educate some of them. But that is not to say that we should, any social movement that we can find that believes in a fraction of what we stand for, we must be with it. Whether it is Biafra, whether it is Oduduwa, whether it is Malafia, the central bank governor, as long as they can understand what we stand for and what they are. Because sometimes when you see some of these groups coming out the way they are doing so out of helplessness. And all I want to tell you guys is that for Nigerians who feel helpless, help is on the way. Help is on the way. And AAC, the Take It Back movement, Revolution Now, is that help. You just need to know how much people rely on us, to take them to, I hate to use the word promised land because it's a little bit quasi-religious, but people just believe that we are the only people left. Our media is the only media left that is not compromised. Our movement is the only movement almost left that is not compromised. Our persons are the only people left in this country today that are not compromised. Our lawyers are the only lawyers left in this country today that are not compromised. And I will say one last thing. Let me thank our lawyer, Inibehe, for the great job he's been doing. At the end, when we get AAC back, it will not happen in the courtrooms. It will happen on the street. Guys, thank you so much for listening. As I said, today is our anniversary. We should cut the cake, eat it, and for those of you who may need more, we'll give you an icing on the cake, and that icing is Revolution Now. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade, for those inspiring words. So, and I'm sure everyone that listened now, had been fed with or have their questions answered. Whatsoever way we may have any doubts, today is about the AAC celebrating the one and only revolutionary party in Nigeria as we speak.